And here we are.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. We are the Transpositions coming at you again. It is 0 hour on a Thursday. 0 hour on a
It's 0
Friday.
hour on a Friday.
0 hour on a Friday.
Time
But
travel.
we are coming to you from Thursday in the Americas. So I think we have Eastern and Mountain time zone represented here. We don't have any Central time zone tonight or any Western time zone. Yeah. And we definitely don't have anybody in the UK where it's already tomorrow. So we don't know what tomorrow's going to be like. We know what today is like, though, and it's pretty crappy in the US.
Yeah, we got Pragmatic Crystal is here. Michelle, Colossus 789 is here. Let's see. Anarchic Fox is here. Triceratops is not a Sauroptian dinosaur. Correct now. I'm sure I have that wrong.
Yeah, Sauroptian.
Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, who else we got?
Weston.
Weston Campbell's here. Hey, welcome everybody.
Dr. Ben just popped in. Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good evening. Yeah, we are a weekly news source for things impacting the trans communities around the world. So that's what we're here to bring you tonight. And we usually try to keep as up to date as possible. We lean heavily on some different news sources that I'd just like to give a quick shout out to. Mostly, once again, our champion, Miss Erin Reed, who we will sing more praises of later in the show, I'm sure. But
there's a rather notable event that took place this past weekend.
Nuptials, I believe, is the way it's.
Yeah, and I just want to real quick. I want to share this because this just came out like a minute ago. But urgent alert, and this is Aaron right here. Given a potential government shutdown soon, tomorrow may be the last day you can update your social security gender as a trans person before the Trump administration takes power. No telling how long he will allow such changes. Go get it done.
It's good advice.
In the United States, yeah.
A lot of people in the online groups, as you know, I'm a member of several different trans support groups. They had no idea there even is a gender marker associated with your social security number. There is, but you can change it super easily. You just go to an office, you fill out one form, and you hand it in, and they change it. Just go do it. Do it as quickly as you can.
You know, it didn't used to be that easy, Amber.
Oh, I know. In a lot of states,
I've still got the letters. You know, I've got those notarized copies. Should anybody do a thing? Because I am an ancient transsexual. This is why. Yeah, nice mug. That's right, Ben.
Yes,
very nice
Dr.
mug.
Dr. Ben, yes. Thank you so much for the Jack in the Box.
Hell yeah. And a wild Carly appears.
All right.
With full cat ears in effect. Carly.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, that Carly was actually invited to the wedding, as I understand it, to Aaron and Zoe's wedding.
Hey, peeps, what's good?
Hey, friend. We were just talking about the wedding. The
wedding. I would have loved to have been there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful wedding.
Yes, I've seen lots of pictures and clips and stuff. Yeah. How was your week so far there, Carly? How about you, Ember?
Carly's AFK right now.
Yeah. How was your week, Ember?
I saw your snake
photos. I saw your snake photos. Let's talk about that. That was beautiful.
Okay. Yeah, that is one thing. So I did a boudoir shoot with a snake a couple of months ago, and just today the photographer got me back the pictures. I put one in the
You did
TransPositions
a
Discord
boudoir shoot. A what?
with a snake. And he was
Uh-oh.
cuddly.
Oh, so
He was very polite. He kept his coils mostly to himself.
so you was getting so you was getting okay. We got to see these photos, Ember.
They're in
You
they're in the
gotta
Discord
see
server.
photos,
If
you
you
gotta
get into
show
the
'em.
disc, if you want to see Ember's snake picture, you got to go into the Discord server and you got to be certified in the group or
Verified.
into our group so you can see the selfie section and then you can see Ember. And yeah, there's other pictures in there too, like all of us really. Even young Stephanie, if you want to see young Stephanie, they're out there in
Oh, good.
the selfies too.
Good.
So
Oh, get it. Get it, Ember.
Hell yeah. I've
Get
got
it,
another
Ember.
one coming up in January, assuming I'm still in the country.
You're doing some
Oh.
boudoir shoots. Hey, I'm doing one next spring. So
Hell yeah. They are so fuck it. So I used to be a professional photographer and I've done boudoir shoots. I know they're empowering. But being on the other side of the lens, especially as a trans person, holy shit. If you ever get the chance, do it.
oh, I've done it.
I'm gonna just
I did one for my 51st birthday, and I love doing it.
Mhm.
We
We
know, Bree.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
gonna.
no, I did one for my 51st birthday, and I loved it.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
17.
There's 17-year-old Stephanie right there. Yep. As a young woman.
You know what? I'm gonna put one of the tame shots from my shoot in the selfies. I'll put a
Ooh.
tame shot in there. And
I will put one of my tame shots in there too if people want to join the Discord server. Do I have tame shots?
I was just
Yeah.
gonna
you
say,
don't
do
have any
you
tame.
have tame
All of
shots?
You don't
all of
have
my
any.
all of my shots are tame. It's like I have no fun.
You don't have any.
I know, girl.
I've seen you. You a little bit of a freak, so I know
Mhm.
you don't have any
Yes.
tame shot. You better go somewhere with that. But to answer the question, I was changing microphones when you asked. I'm having a week.
Having a
And of
week.
course, tonight on Transposition Sports, we have kind of like a teaser conversation with Maven Maurer, 12-year former CEO player who found her truth after retirement, and in September when there was a reunion of the 2000 Grey Cup champion British Columbia Lions team she was a part of were inducted into the Wall of Fame at BC Place. She decided to be there. She was invited and she decided to be there. And for many of her old teammates, it was a coming out. And it was a beautiful coming out. And from a lot of appearances, there's been a lot of positive steam off of this. Number of players that she played with and against have reached out and have been very supportive and have been very empathetic, supportive. Good that we like to see it. And we're going to run the whole hour next on December 24th, special on the Star Sports One YouTube channel. Another great combined Star Sports One Transposition Sports presentation. We're going to run our conversation. It was all so good. We're going to run the whole hour. We're just going to run it on Christmas as part of a day of. I'm going to spend Christmas Eve running some of the best stuff we've done. And I'm going to run some of the best conversations that we've done, a lot of things. And next week on Char Sports One, I'll be unveiling the 2024 All Carly team. Who are the people I like? Who are the people that I like this year? People I'm looking at. And we're also going to announce on that, and also we're going to have that one. And the following week and then the following week we'll announce we'll work on getting Outsports we'll announce the Outsports Trans Athlete of the Year for 2024 as well. The following week after that in early January. And so we have a lot of great things coming, and we have some great stuff coming tonight. Maven Moore is a total sweetheart. Total sweetheart. Awesome interview. And just the story is great. We're going to give you a little snippet of it. But if you want the whole story and the backstory, December 24th, it'll be called Finding Maven. And I got to say, it was a beautiful thing. I also wrote a little article in Outsports on her coming out that came out earlier this evening. Yeah, in addition to a lot of other things, we got some shout outs. We're going to be talking about Noah Lynn Van Leuven was at the world, competed in the World Dart Championship this week. We're going to get some highlights on how she did and this interesting proposal out of the state of Washington. The Washington Interscholastic Athletic Association, the governing body for high school sports in the state, has been given a pair of proposals on how to deal with the issue of trans student athletes. Now, there's a twist to this, and I'm going to explain that twist in Transposition Sports.
Yeah, stick around for Transposition Sports because you're not going to want to miss tonight's episode. We got just a snippet of the interview, and if you want to see the full thing, like Carly said, it's going to be over on Char Sports, which I believe there was just a link dropped by PC. Well, that was for your last video, but that's on your channel, right? That your latest video. So, yeah, if you click on that, that's going to get you to Char Sports, and you need to hit the subscribe button. You need to ring that bell so that you get notifications every time Carly puts something new out. All right. Now, for the first story for tonight, unfortunately, it's not a good one. We don't have a lot of good news these days, though, but it is 81 Democrats helped pass defense bill with anti-trans provisions.
Traitors.
The U.S. House of Representatives passed the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, on Wednesday, advancing heavy new prohibitions on gender-affirming care under military health plans. The 2025 NDAA, which authorizes an astronomical military budget of $895 billion.
Holy shit.
Contains numerous policy items, including a 4.5% pay raise across the board, a more substantial 14.5% raise for junior service members, and over $600 million in military funding for Israel. It also includes multiple sections that would place new restrictions on gender-affirming medical care for military families on government TRICARE health plans. The military's health insurance program for active duty members under Section 708 and 709 on the bill, no Department of Defense funds or facilities may be used to perform or facilitate sex change surgeries. The TRICARE plan may not provide hormone therapy, puberty blockers, or other medical interventions for the treatment of gender dysphoria that could result in sterilization to anyone under 18.
What could possibly go wrong there? There's so much under that umbrella that they just blanket said under 18 that applies to cis kids. And it's going to come up.
Another section would prohibit the Department of Defense from establishing any new positions relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or from adding those responsibilities to existing DoD positions. So no diversity, equity, and inclusion. No oversight committees or anything like that for the military moving forward.
What's that phrase?
I'm gonna say something here that it's really tangential, but I think it's also not so tangential when you it's not so tangential when you stop and think about it. My surgeon for bottom surgery, I asked him on one of my early intake interviews, I asked him, how in the world did you get into doing this? I mean, what's the history there? He told me that he was an army surgeon in Korea, and war is a terrible thing, and people get injured in lots of different places, and sometimes reconstructive surgery is required. And Gene Frang was the guy's name. He's long since departed, but he was a pioneer in the whole field. But he got into it because he learned very quickly that that area of the human body is remarkably plastic, and it will heal. And reconstructive surgery is a thing that can be done. So here's a guy who got his training in reconstructive surgery of the genital area from the U.S. Army in wartime. And, you know, I don't imagine that the U.S. Army or any branch of the service that have medical doctors practicing are going to stop doing reconstructive surgeries, because guess what? Shit happens. This is so short-sighted. And so, again, we'll be talking about other things that okay for cis people, not okay for trans people tonight. So
That's
just
what
wanted
it's
to
going to
throw
be
that
tonight.
out
So
there. It's just weird.
facing some discrimination, facing down some discrimination, hopefully, but we'll see what happens. Let me just wrap up this paragraph here, and we're going to move on to the next story. Normally, party leaders whip members into voting one way or another based on their party's collective goals. But House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said he would not whip Democrat voters for or against the NDAA on Wednesday, even though the bill contains overtly anti-trans policies. We're not whipping on the National Defense Authorization Act. It's a member-to-member, case-by-case analysis in terms of people making decisions as to what is the right thing to do. Jeffries told reporters ahead of the vote, according to The Hill. Jeffries added that the bill contains a lot of positive things, but some troubling provisions in a few areas as well. The New York representative slammed Republican extremists in a press conference on Wednesday, but also told reporters that he and his party are ready and willing to be able to find a bipartisan common ground within the incoming administration on any issue. Jeffries was among the 81 Democrats who voted in favor of the NDAA on Wednesday. So, yeah, the Democrat Party has not all of them, but a lot of them, a large portion of them have essentially abandoned us, even though they were never really with us in the first place. Now they're openly against us. So, I mean,
Minor correction, it's the Democratic Party, but the bastards had the gall, and I did run off on this last week in my segment, telling us all, when we fight, we win. I want to see us start fighting, guys. You know, you can't keep rolling over for these assholes. You can't, because how do you expect anybody to stand up for you when you won't stand up for them?
Hold on, my light's messing up.
I know, I'm just angry.
It's okay. We need to be angry.
Anger beats the hell out of despair.
All right. Up next, I do have something positive for you guys. It's not all doom and gloom. Check this out. Trans TikTok star Jessie Sullivan shares adorable picture with newborn twins. There's Jessie Sullivan. Jessie Sullivan has embraced his role as a father of 3 children, and fans have dubbed him Daddy Jesse. The trans TikToker and his fiance, the too hot to handle star Francesca Farrago, welcomed twins into the world last month, despite getting off to a rocky start when a nurse questioned how Sullivan could be the newborn's dad. The pair have settled into their new roles. Sullivan has one other child, Arlo, who was born in 2008. As a Fans have been thirsting over Sullivan's latest photos of himself. Merry Twinsmas, he wrote beneath 2 pictures where he is seen holding the babies, including one shirtless image of the father bottle feeding them. One fan wrote, "Daddy Jesse looks good on you. Congrats." Others expressed similar sentiments, saying, "Hot dad." Yeah, so definitely hot dad. Yeah, he's a little young for me, but I can definitely. And twins are a handful, so they more power to you, Jesse. Sullivan became a father the second time when Farrago underwent an emergency surgery in November. She said at the time, "Our 2 little angels made a surprising appearance via C-section at 36 weeks and 5 days." So they were little bitty things. Lockett weighed 5 pounds 10 ounces, and Poetry weighed 5 pounds 8 ounces. I've never been more in love, but I've also never had more anxiety. They're perfect. I was a twin and I weighed 6 pounds, so I wasn't too much bigger than these guys. Sullivan predicted that his children will change the world and said, "Welcome to the world, Poetry Lucia," I think is how you pronounce that, "Sullivan, and Lockett, Romance Sullivan." Celebrities name their kids so crazy sometimes, but he went on to say, "I cut their cords, and in that moment, as I watched Francesca see her babies for the first time, I thought back to the doctor handing me Arlo, and I knew that in that moment, my life is the life I've always dreamed of." And that's very sweet, you know. So that's my good story. I like the twin babies. But we get to go back into the unhinged world of U.S. politics, because I have to tell you, I feel like, just saying, I feel like this crazy bitch is following me. Unhinged GOP candidate says LGBTQ plus people are a terrorist organization who kill Christians. Yes, this is Valentina Gomez. She was a Missouri representative, which is where I'm initially from.
Oh,
so
yeah, she ran for office. She lost, but she was the one with the flamethrower and shit.
The one that used the F slur in her videos and said, "Don't be weak and gay," and all this nonsense. Yeah, that's what she's most famous for. It's this quote right here you see on this picture. But she has followed me to Texas. I don't know why. Valentina, why are you obsessed with me? Valentina Gomez ran for Missouri Secretary of State this year, repeatedly using slurs and hateful rhetoric as part of her failed campaign. Now she's in Texas and she's running for Congress. She continues to use extreme anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric, but she is also now trying to profit off of her social media presence. I'm running for, well, we're going to let her say it because she's got it down here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're going to, where's the sound?
Once and for all, because
okay, here we go.
I'm running for Congress in Texas and I'm taking down a rhino and a dinosaur once and for all, because Congress is full of crooks like Speaker Johnson, who is just a little man with no balls that funds Ukraine and betrays the American people every chance he gets, and then Crenshaw, who is only good at betraying his...
Is that a Madonna song in the background? You're going to get sued, Valentina. Madonna ain't wanting her music attached to.
Oh, well, Madonna will have to take a number because that sounds like a Latin American accent, which means our friend here is going to get deported on January 21st. Regardless of whether she's legal or not.
Actually, all of what she's saying right now, it sounded better in the original Russian.
Yeah, better.
His fellow Navy SEALs. I'm 25 with an MBA, fluent in multiple languages, former NCAA Division I swimmer, and with many more accolades to my name. But here's the only...
Now, keep in mind that before she ran for office, she priced dog food at Purina. Was her
That's
her
nice.
career. So
Yeah.
I guess she swam in college though. Good for her. But
reason why you should vote for me, because I don't give a fuck what all those bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. think about me. I'm coming to Texas to speak the truth, cook the crooks, and save the children. Buckle up, Texas, because this ain't my first rodeo.
with the Cybertruck.
Wowzer.
And the assault weapon.
Is this
Well,
chick
she's
for
always- she's
real?
always
Wait,
got an assault
who is this
weapon.
chick? Wait a minute, who is
It's
this
Val-
chick?
It's Valentina Gomez. She's like the most unhinged.
Wait a minute, didn't she live in Missouri?
Yeah, she followed me to Texas.
She did.
She followed me.
Okay.
She's hunting me
I
down.
don't know what's worse. The fact that you are just brainless, or you're a carpetbagger. Are you
Why not
kidding
both?
me?
You know,
The
You know what?
horrible human being.
This is a reason. You know something? It's people like her that are going to make the rest of the world say one day, you know what? We need to build a big wall around the United States of America and make Americans pay for it.
Well, yeah.
I'm being serious. I mean, she is a perfect example of the political immaturity of the American people. And
yeah.
the last story, and about the last story real quick, because I was monitoring the publish on Transposition Sports as you were saying it. The Democrats the Democrats have a deeper, younger bench, and they don't want to do anything with it. What they did to AOC was a crock, honestly. I mean, it's time for newer, sure leadership, and it's time for some Gary Hart in the Democratic Party. We need some fresh new ideas in the Democratic Party. And they should have is President Biden, if you really have the backs of transgender people, like you said you did when you got inaugurated, like you did at the Democratic National Convention in 2020, if you have my back, prove it. Veto the National Defense Authorization Act. Veto it, send it back and say, get rid of that provision that harms the kids of people serving their country.
Yeah. That's
what I want to see.
We have
you
record
you
low.
need to do that because quite frankly, Joe Biden, your name is right now synonymous, and your legacy is synonymous with doddering old man. You have a chance to step up and do something right. You do it.
And when enlistment is at a record low, you're gonna set roadblocks that will make people say, "Hey, do I really want to enlist in the military? Because what if I have what there's people that are going to have trans spouses that are going to have trans
there's
kids.
A cure for that. I don't know what you heard about me, but you can't fight China without me. You know, we'll end all this discrepancy with a goddamn DRAFT. It's draft. There's an answer to low enlistment. It's called draft. And if we're not careful in this country, you're going to have a what? Draft.
A draft. It's terrifying too, especially because I have a young son that's in his 20s, so he'd be not the right age.
Wow.
But the youth are actually not in support of any of this nonsense.
No, she had to move to Texas because she lost in Missouri so badly she could not run again. She needed a different place to go run. And this is a woman who has never succeeded at anything in her fucking life. It's wild because she's a millionaire, so she's not relatable at all. I mean, if the freaking Cybertruck doesn't give it away, she brags about it openly. She is absolutely in touch with the common individual. Yes, she was an NCAA Division I swimmer. She never won anything. At least according to her own CV. She was a swimmer who once got 4th place in the 200 meter. Once.
Oh, well, she would have beat Riley Gaines then. Congratulations, Valentina.
Maybe she did. It's
Uh,
it's wild how cocky this person who has never achieved something in her entire life is over all this nonsense. She's just like, I'm rich, I'm better than y'all. But Washington's full of crooks.
is she a Nepo baby? Because I know she worked she was like the pricing manager at Purina Dog Food in St.
I
Louis, or
I
near
don't
St.
know
Louis.
about her parents, but her millions probably didn't come from a couple of years on TikTok. Just saying.
Yeah, and it definitely didn't come from working at a dog food company. You don't become a millionaire pricing dog food. I just don't, unless you're topping off the coffers. But yeah, students here, a student slam trans toilet bans. This is Ohio. Should have people shouldn't have a say in something that doesn't affect them. University students have spoken out in response to the transgender bathroom ban in the U.S. state of Ohio, with one claiming its aim was to erase the existence of gay people. Republican Governor Mike DeWine, oh, good old Mike DeWine, signed the Protect All Students Act into law on the 27th of November after it passed through the state legislature, where Vice President-elect J.D. Vance is senator. The law, which applies from kindergarten up through 12th grade as well as at colleges and university, reads, no school shall permit a member of the female biological sex to use a student restroom, locker room, changing room, or shower room that has been designated by the school for the exclusive use of the male biological sex, and vice versa. The students don't care, though. The students aren't gonna report this shit because for the most part, Gen Z are pretty based. I mean, when I go to the bathroom, that's not something I'm thinking about. That's never made me uncomfortable, one student said. Another told us, say I transition into a woman. If I'm going into the men's bathroom now while dressed as a woman and perhaps having undergone surgery to become a woman, it's still going to be a no-win scenario. I'd be walking into a men's room looking like a woman. All that's going to do is push kids to stay further closeted and no one want to come out. Someone else said, I think it will be very negative for young transgender people. I don't know if it will have as much an impact at the college level. I think it'll be high school and middle school where it's a big deal. Yeah, where they're minors and they can't speak for themselves, and the peers who could speak for them would be minors too. Someone else said, I think it'll be very negative for young transgender people. Oh, hold on, I just read that. Let me see. Others were more critical. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think people should have a say in something that doesn't affect them. One said, before expressing the belief that DeWine signed the bill to erase the existence of gay people. Some transgender students already face mental health problems by not being accepted by society, and someone else pointed out this could make things even worse. Want to hear what some of them have to say? Maybe. Are you gonna play? It's doing its clocking thing. Come on now.
It doesn't wanna.
Let me refresh and see if that helps.
About like it, that's never made me uncomfortable.
Say I transition into a woman. If I'm going into the male's bathroom now, if I'm dressing like a woman.
Well,
Play.
Well,
Woman,
Yeah, I
and get
mean-
done surgeries to become woman-like, it's just gonna still be a no-win scenario where then I'm walking into the men's room looking like a woman. So I think all that's gonna do is push those kids to stay further closeted and not want to come out.
I think it'll be very negative for young transgender people. I don't know if it'll have as much impact at the college level. I think really it'll be high school and middle school where it's a big deal.
I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't think people people should have a say in something that honestly doesn't really affect them. I think there's already a lot of like mental health like problems that transgender people face, like with not being accepted by society, and like this being put into law is like probably going to make that worse.
And then why do you think Governor Mike DeWine signed this bill into law?
Because he wants to erase the existence of gay people, and it's more he thinks it's more comfortable for everybody if gay people just stop existing.
I want to say it was to stop assaults, but like I think that's a BS answer where if I really wanted to go and do damage to hurt someone else, I can just walk in. The law saying you're not supposed to isn't gonna if I wanted to break the law anyways. I think it's also this culture war stuff where I don't think it's to deflect from actual issues.
Yeah, those kids get it. I'm sure there's going to be a kid out there that doesn't, and is going to be that snitch and is going to make somebody's life miserable, because we already know that there are kids who've done that and caused people to die. Cis kids who've done that and caused people to die.
Yeah.
So,
there's
where's your concern, Mike, for the trans kids who are getting assaulted now? You think it would be any different somehow or another if you actually enforce that? If do you honestly believe? Do you honestly effing believe that if that child walks into a bathroom and that child was out as transgender, that she would be safe? Are you fucking tripping?
I got a question. Why can't Ohio be more like Michigan? Fielding, you can't when it comes to states either. I just want to know why can't Ohio be more like Michigan? Like Michigan. Why? This is crazy. But there is a group of Ohio Republicans who've been planning this for a few years. And in fact, after they passed, a group of them met with a group of Republicans in Michigan, and they had what I called their own Von Z conference, where they were literally talking about how do we do this time and build, and this was their words, a final solution for trans people. And yeah, Aaron Reed, the recently married Aaron Reed, broke this story in January. She broke the story. I've ran video audio this a few times. This really happened. And you should have heard some of the stuff in that audio. If you want, I will put the link in there and you can hear it for yourself. These people are these people are witch on a broomstick transgender Americans. And that's the thing, Americans.
All right, let me let Ember get in here because she has to be parting ways with us momentarily. But we got more Ember to come, like the recorded good news segment, which we have been missing for the last couple of weeks. So I'm glad that good news is back on the table.
Yeah, we get it when we can, when there is good news, and when there's time for me to do the damn thing. It's pretty rough, but we do try to bring you all the good news here, because in this age we all really, really, really need all the good news we can find. It feels like scraping underneath the table for crumbs, but there's rays of light here and there, and they're worth looking for, I think.
Well, I hope that we bring a little bit of ray of light to our audience and to their day. I really do. I hope that it's not all doom and gloom when you tune into the transpositions. And I'm sorry if that's the way that feels. Things are looking down, but there are those bright spots, and I appreciate Ember for bringing those to us.
Yeah, and you all can help. Join the Discord. If you hear about good news or bad news or other news, you can let us know about it in the Discord. There's channels in there just for that. And it would certainly make our lives a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm actually ready for some good news right now. Y'all want to move into some good news? Yeah. Transpositions team.
Yeah, I actually stuck around later than I should have.
Yeah. Sorry for keeping you, Ember. But thank you so much for coming up and chatting with us this week. And hopefully we'll see you again next week if work allows it. But always appreciate your presence here, and you have a lovely evening. See you in the side chat.
Hell yeah.
Good news, everyone. Tonight, big news out of Montana. A Hamilton woman has reason to smile again, and more. Good news starts right now. First up, though I'm sure it'll be mentioned in other parts of tonight's program, I do have to pre-record these segments, and I would be remiss if I did not mention the wedding. Yes, journalist Aaron Reed and Representative Zoe Zephyr, two beloved trans icons, both advocating in powerful ways in their respective disciplines for trans rights and human rights generally, got hitched in Missoula, Montana. So I can't begin to describe how truly awesome this is for those of us in the community who, let's say, shall be facing uncertain futures. It's really cool to see a love of two such vital and passionate people blossom. And I could go on and on about it, but I don't want to step on anyone else's toes on this one. It just had to be mentioned. But there's more out of Montana this week. For instance, a Montana judge blocks a rule preventing trans people from changing their sex on documents. This is from the Associated Press. And a quick caveat, as many of you are probably aware, in most of the states in the United States, there is no distinction between sex markers and gender markers on identity documents. So the terms get conflated in legal settings because there is no difference on the documents in question. So bear that in mind as we go forward. Helena, Montana. A state judge in Montana has temporarily blocked policies that prevented transgender people from changing their sex designations on their birth certificates and driver's licenses. District Judge Mike Menahan issued his order Monday, blocking the rule while the case moves through the courts. Menahan said it was not necessary at this point in the litigation to determine whether transgender Montanans constitute a special class on the basis of their transgender status, but he disagreed with the state's argument that discrimination on the basis of transgender status is not discrimination on the basis of sex. And this derives directly from a United States Supreme Court ruling. The two are inextricably linked, because you cannot consider that a person is transgender without acknowledging the matter of sex. They're kind of related. Quote, if the challenged state actions discriminate against a transgender individual on the basis of their transgender status, they also necessarily discriminate on the basis of sex, he wrote, which is objectively true. The case was filed in April by two transgender women on behalf of themselves and others who have been unable to obtain documents, quote, that accurately reflect their sex, the complaint said. One rule blocks transgender people born in Montana from changing the sex designation on their birth certificates. A different policy prevents transgender residents from changing the sex on their driver's licenses without an amended birth certificate, which they cannot obtain if they were born in Montana. Neat how that works. Plaintiff Jessica Karlik, who was born in Montana, said in a statement Tuesday that she was frustrated that while, quote, being able to live my life openly as the woman I know myself to be, Montana wants me to carry around a birth certificate that incorrectly lists my sex as male. Birth certificates and driver's licenses are needed to apply for a marriage license, a passport, to vote, or even to buy a hunting license. Alex Raitt, legal counsel for the American Civil Liberties Union of Montana, argued last month. Each time a transgender person is required to produce a document that does not accurately reflect their sex, they are forced to out themselves as transgender. The state has argued that sex is binary, which is false, either male or female, which is false, and that being transgender is not a protected class of people who could have their constitutional rights to privacy violated. Two problems. The first is, does that mean that they're an unprotected class of people and therefore it is fine to violate their privacy? Are general citizens of Montana's privacies not to be respected? But more importantly, if you're targeting a group specifically, isn't that special enough to consider them a special category? I mean, you're making us a special category by targeting a law specifically at us. So in that context, are we not special? You can't have it both ways, my guy. He says, quote, the right to privacy does not include a right to replace an objective fact of biological sex on a government document. Assistant Attorney General Alwyn Lansing argued for the state. And he's right, sort of. Sex is not a biologically observable fact. Well, it's complicated. Again, we're conflating sex and gender considerably on this, but biologists will tell you there are several different ways biologists determine sex. None of them have only two exclusive options, and many of them have different indications. For example, a person, or an animal for that matter, could be phenotypically male, but genetically female. And there's mixtures among those as well. There's mixed characteristics in many examples, both in humans and in the rest of the animal kingdom. And genetically, it gets even weirder because virtually every chromosome can have dozens of different kinds of anomalies, discrepancies, duplications, etc. This isn't a bio lesson. The point here is that saying an objective fact of biological sex is not a statement that has any actual meaning. Chase Shower, spokesperson for the Department of Justice, which includes the Motor Vehicle Division, said, quote, the judiciary has once again defied the democratic will of Montanans by siding with special interest groups and the left's radical leftist ideology. Wow, the left's leftist ideology. That's a hot take, bud. That's some quick thinking. You've got a hell of a vocabulary there. The agency hasn't decided whether it will appeal the injunction. The State Department of Health, which issues birth certificates, does not comment on pending litigation. Spokesperson John Elbett commented about the pending litigation. The case is the latest volley in a series of laws, rules, and legal challenges over efforts by Republicans in Montana and many other states to limit the rights of transgender residents. The state has used various justifications in banning changes to identity documents, including needing accurate statistical records, which is a reason to allow changes, or saying someone's biological sex cannot be changed, even though someone's gender identity can, which is also objectively not true. But details. Quote, the state cannot articulate any legitimate interest in restricting access to accurate identity documents, much less a compelling one, Raitt argued during the hearing before Menahan in November. In late 2017, under Democratic Governor Steve Bullock, the state health department implemented a rule allowing people to change the sex on their birth certificate by signing an affidavit. In 2021, Montana's Republican-controlled legislature and Republican governor Greg Gianforte implemented a law saying transgender people could not change the sex on their birth certificate without having undergone surgery. That law was declared unconstitutionally vague because it did not specify what surgery was required. The state was ordered to return to the 2017 rule. It should be noted, most countries and international organizations have banned rules like that because requiring people to have some certain specific surgeries is tantamount to forced sterilization, which is an actual war crime. And here's Montana's Republican-controlled legislature and Republican governor deliberately trying to implement an actual war crime. Granted, it's not wartime, so I suppose you'd call it a crime against humanity, but still, details. However, in response, the health department, now under Republican management, passed a rule. Since they can't have a law, they'll use a rule, much like the Texas Department of Public Safety driver's license rule, saying nobody can change the sex on their birth certificate unless it was to fix a clerical error. It's worth noting that in the case of a transgender person, a very strong case can be made that having the wrong sex listed on the birth certificate constitutes a clerical error, sort of like misspelling a name. You have the wrong letter there. Montana's legislature in 2023 passed a law defining the word sex in state law as being only male or female, which is not objectively true, and based upon a person's sex assigned at birth, which has a number of different problems relating to a whole bunch of different things, but that's a topic for another time. That law defining sex was overturned as unconstitutional because its title did not accurately explain its purpose, but the ACLU argues that the state is still using it to set policy with regards to driver's license. Yes, just because a law is unconstitutional and has been overturned is no reason to not continue to enforce it. What even are laws? What are laws for? What good are they? It's fine. Minahan's order blocked the 2022 Health Department rule on birth certificates and the Motor Vehicle Division policy that prevented people from changing sex on their driver's license without an amended birth certificate. He also blocked the bill that defined sex as only male or female as it applied to birth certificates and driver's licenses only. Go figure. Montana is one of, how rude. Montana is one of 7 states that did not allow people to change the sex on their birth certificates. 25 states do allow it, including 15 that offer an option to list male, female, or X for non-binary, other, etc. A dozen states allow birth certificate changes following gender-affirming surgical procedures, according to the Movement Advance Project, an advocacy and information organization. 30 states allow people to change their sex on their driver's license. Montana is among 16 states with what the Movement Advance Project calls, quote, a burdensome process. 4 states do not allow a person to change their sex on their driver's license. Montana lawmakers in 2023 passed a bill blocking gender-affirming medical care for transgender youths, and that law was temporarily blocked in September 2023, just before it was to take effect. And the Montana Supreme Court last week upheld that injunction. And that brings us to our second story. Montana Supreme Court upholds lower court ruling that allows gender-affirming care for minors. Now, that's a slightly misworded title because it's not allowing gender-affirming care. It's blocking a law that would prevent care. I understand that's a double negative, and so to many people it means the same thing. But in legal terms, it really very much is not. There is a law blocking care, and this ruling is blocking the law. We have to be cognizant of the real situation, lest we, lose some important ground here. And The first story goes to show that while they argue, oh, it's just to protect the kids, it's just to protect the kids, it never stops at the kids. It never stops at the kids. Because that first story was about rules that affect only adults. They give away the game, but they don't care. They've been masked off for a while now. A Montana law banning gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors will remain temporarily blocked, the state Supreme Court ruled Wednesday, after justices unanimously agreed with a lower court judge who found the law likely violates the state's constitutional right to privacy. The case against the Montana law now goes to trial before District Court Judge Jason Marks in Missoula. Quote, I will never understand why my representatives are working to strip me of my rights and the rights of other transgender kids. Phoebe Cross, a 17-year-old trans boy and lead plaintiff, said in a statement, just as living as a trans teen is difficult enough, the last thing me and my peers need is to have our rights taken away. The Attorney General's office said it looks forward to defending the law. It's an interesting turn of phrase. You want to defend a law that hurts children. Do you look forward to kicking a kitten when you get out of work on Friday afternoons? Do you perhaps do like many other Republicans and put down puppies for pleasure? My goodness. A spokesperson noted that there are recent scientific and legal developments that fall in the state's favor. It should be noted that is not true. This comes as the British government on Wednesday indefinitely banned puberty blockers for children with gender dysphoria, citing an unacceptable safety risk. It should be noted that while it is true the British government indefinitely banned puberty blockers for children with gender dysphoria, but not for cis children, because the experimental drugs have unknown side effects. Never mind. Do as I say, not as I do. Never mind. The safety risk is completely undemonstrated. They have presented nothing of substance to show there is a safety risk. However, there is considerable data, including from Dr. Hilary Cass, author of the infamous Cass Review, which is ostensibly being used to justify this particular ban in the UK, that blocking access to puberty blockers does lead to considerable harm. And we're not talking about the kind of harm that comes from people who have to undergo what would have been unnecessary surgeries later in life if they'd been allowed access to gender-affirming care at a younger age. That's significant enough, but we're talking about loss of lives due to lack of access to life-saving medication. There is a demonstrable and significant safety risk for blocking access to care. But never mind, there's an unacceptable safety risk that is completely undemonstrated, so we need to block the care. It's not fine. It's very much not fine. Quote, in upholding the district court's flawed decision to temporarily block a duly enacted law, the Supreme Court put the well-being of children who have yet to reach puberty at risk by allowing experimental treatments that could lead them to deal with serious and irreversible consequences for the rest of their lives to continue, spokesperson Chase Showers said, unwittingly projecting the dangers of his own position onto his opposition. Because the fact of the matter is that puberty blockers are completely reversible and they're not experimental. As previously stated, they've been in use for decades and decades on cis children. We know how they work. They work on all children. The point of puberty blockers is to stop puberty, to delay its onset. So there's no differentiation between a trans child and a cis child at that age. They're pre-pubertal. The effects will be the same on both. So we know what the effects will be. My goodness. But there is, he's literally telling on himself here. He says, putting the well-being of children who have yet to reach puberty at risk by allowing experimental treatments that could lead them to deal with serious and irreversible consequences. And forcing a trans child through the wrong puberty definitely leaves them with serious and irreversible consequences, as evidenced by the shit that trans adults have to go through because they weren't able to access care at an age when it would have been optimally effective. But I do digress. The U.S. Supreme Court earlier this month heard arguments over Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers, hormones, or surgery for transgender minors, with observers saying it appeared these justices were likely to uphold the ban. Mixed ideas on that one. It seems to be mostly opinion pieces, and I have heard arguments both ways. This is, after all, the same court that has made several other landmark decisions that heavily favor trans people and the gender and sexual minority community generally. While it is a conservative majority, they don't seem to be the same rabid lunatics who have overtaken Congress and the White House. But we will see. Perhaps I'm overly optimistic. Quote, because Montana's constitutional protections are even stronger than their federal counterparts, transgender youth in Montana can sleep easier tonight knowing that they can continue to thrive for now without this looming threat hanging over their heads, said Kel Olson, an attorney for Lambda Legal. Republican Senator John Fuller, who sponsored the bill, said Wednesday's decision, quote, is an egregious example of the hyper-partisanship of the Montana Supreme Court. Once again, the Republicans are telling on themselves because, do recall, all of these bans are Republicans. Only Republicans, only ever Republicans. They are hyper-partisan. But he's going to project that on everyone else. It's not my fault the building fell down just because I undermined the foundation. Why would you think it's my fault? It's clearly these hyper-partisan contractors who keep saying we need to reinforce the foundation. What are you talking about? He criticized the court for upholding the ability to sterilize and mutilate children. It should be noted, neither of those is true because neither of those is a side effect of puberty blockers, which are used on cis kids who turn out completely normal. It's fine. And denying protection to children, quote, from unscientific and experimental drugs and operations that have grown increasingly evident as a danger to children. It should be noted, none of that's true. There is, as repeatedly referenced, shit tons of scientific evidence showing that they are not experimental, highly efficacious, fully reversible, and generally as safe or safer as any other necessary medication you care to name. And there are no operations on children at this stage in development, at least not for gender affirming reasons. Perhaps they need a hip replacement or something. And this have grown increasingly evident as a danger to children. This is the ultimate self-own, because the fact he has to make accusations, he has to make claims about increasing evidence because he has zero evidence to actually present. He can't demonstrate his claims. All he can do is assert them. Fuller hasn't decided if he will bring a similar bill in the 2025 legislature. He's waiting to see how much fundraising he can generate off of making a stink about this one. Legislative debate over Montana's bill drew national attention in the spring of 2023 after Republicans punished Democratic Representative Zoe Zephyr, the first transgender woman elected to the state's legislature, for admonishing lawmakers who supported the bill. The same Zoe Zephyr referenced earlier in the wedding in Missoula. So it's interesting how this all kind of comes full circle, but also longtime viewers may recall just a few weeks ago, we covered Representative Zephyr in our feature about elected trans representatives across the country. And she in particular had a small feature done about her, which we sampled parts of in our broadcast. And it's really touching. You should definitely check out the full thing. The Montana Supreme Court, quote, has reaffirmed what we have known all along. Gender-affirming care saves lives, And like all healthcare decisions, it should be left between doctors and patients, Zephyr said Wednesday. And that is true. Not so much that the Montana Supreme Court has specifically affirmed that gender affirming care saves lives, but that it is a matter of established fact within the law. It is settled law that gender affirming care saves lives. There was a decision earlier this year in Arkansas where a 300-page document was produced to coincide with the court's opinion, laying out the evidence. That was I believe it was a U.S. Circuit Court. The link for it is available in the references on betterthanember.com for those of you who want to actually read it for yourselves. But again, it is 300 pages. Suffice it to say, the judge was quite thorough in laying out exactly what we do know. And that fact, that legally established fact, is that it is true scientifically, medically, legally, and ethically that gender affirming care does save lives. This is settled science and settled law. Now for something totally different. From the CBC, never mind the Yahoo News thing. It is a CBC article. I don't know why this happens, but it's a good news story. It's a very good news story. A community rallies around a 70-year-old transgender actor who lost teeth in an attack near a GSM bar in Hamilton. This is Lisa Stroud. Lisa Stroud has been in a lot of productions, but last spring suffered quite the attack. And, well, we're going to get into it, but it does end on a high note, so stick with me here. In this picture, Lisa Stroud flashes a wide smile when she talks about her burgeoning acting career. The 70-year-old Hamilton woman has been in 11 films and television productions, alongside stars such as Josh Hartnett and Kim Cattrall, since first responding to a casting call online in 2021. These days, the trans actor is thankful not just for her line of work, but also getting back the confidence to smile. Stroud went without many teeth and, as a result, acting gigs for 7 months following an attack in March after leaving the Well, Hamilton's only bar marketed to the local GSM community. I can very much relate to having to go for a long period of time with no teeth. It sucks in a lot of ways. Quote, I was grabbed from behind, swung around, and just pummeled in the face over and over again. Stroud described blacking out before waking up. Live broadcasting, folks. Picking up her teeth off the ground. Yes, I know this is a recording, but it's a single piece. I don't have the time to edit because I'm working 5 jobs. And if you want to help with that, you can support us on patreon.com/TheTransPositions. But that's, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Stroud described blacking out before waking up, picking up her teeth off the ground, getting into her car, and driving home. Quote, apparently, I was bleeding quite a bit on the outside of my driver's door. Stroud reported the attack to Hamilton police the next day, but so far, no one has been arrested. She said one of the detectives told her that her experience was, quote, definitely a hate crime. Stroud doesn't understand why anyone would want to target her. She said she has led a peaceful life and hasn't harmed anyone. Quote, my God, I was married. I have a son, she said. I worked at DeFesco for 35 years, and I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why is there so much hate out there? Stroud's transition to being an out trans woman took place over decades, an identity she says she's felt inside from her earliest memories. Some stereotypes exist for a reason, folks. She began dressing in feminine clothing at home while a preschooler in the city's West End. After finishing high school at Westdale Secondary, she worked at what's now the ArcelorMittal DeFosco steel mill as a tradesperson with tickets in plumbing, pipe fitting, gas fitting, and steam fitting. She got married and had a son, then got divorced. And here we have a portrait of Lisa herself, well, according to the caption, reflected in her bathroom mirror. But it's pretty neat. It's nice to see art. It's nice to see art of oneself. I know our society has a problem with ego and narcissism, but the vast majority of people are not actually narcissists or egomaniacs. And we're also having a huge crisis in a lack of self-care, in a lack of self-love. A lot of people, because of the way our society is organized, where you're supposed to sacrifice, and put yourself dead last, there's no consideration for yourself. Stuff like this is not narcissistic. And sometimes, especially for trans people, it can be extremely healing. But I do digress. Stroud never let on about her trans identity at work. Quote, it was, a redneck place. But after work, she'd come home, shower and change, and spend the evening as Lisa. She said it has been liberating, not liberating, live broadcasting, to live full-time as Lisa, which began after she retired, and it has been validating to get acting work based on how she looks now and her true identity. Stroud, who goes by the stage name Lisa D, said she also landed roles in Ripple and Wi-Fi, which are currently being filmed. The gigs, she said, wouldn't have been possible without help paying for her new artificial teeth. Her dental work cost $28,000. I assume Canadian, since she's from Hamilton, Ontario. But whatever country, that's a lot of De Niro. $4,000 came from the Hamilton Police Victim Services Division, $9,400 from a fundraiser held by a casting company she works with, and nearly $6,000 from a GoFundMe campaign started by Wolf, a friend from the local GSM community. Here we can see she's holding up a phone photo of herself with the damaged teeth. It looks very painful. Wolf, 35, said they visit with Stroud regularly and were surprised when they saw she was missing several teeth. Quote, she didn't actually tell me about the assault when it happened, said Wolf, who organizes local queer meetup events. I went to visit her and she showed me her mouth and I was shocked. Something radical had happened. She wasn't telling anybody until the medical bills started coming in, and she realized she couldn't handle this, Wolf added in an interview Thursday with CBC Hamilton. I'm not a computer person, but I did my best, they added, referring to setting up the GoFundMe online. Stroud also considered not even telling the police. She said she was left with the impression she may not be their priority after reporting a broad daylight sexual assault that she experienced on a bench near Upper Ottawa Street and Limmeridge Road East in 2022. Quote, I haven't heard a word since, she said. Hamilton police spokesperson Jackie Penman declined to share information about the investigations into Stroud's two cases, saying, quote, while we can't comment on specific investigations at times, we face challenges related to the timeliness of reporting, lack of evidence, absence of witnesses, and victim participation, which is a galling thing to say when they have not even attempted to contact the victim for further information in roughly 2 years. But details. We can confirm that the victim services and hate crime units have been engaged. Stroud said the attacks have destroyed her feeling of safety, and the lack of results from the investigations has further fueled her distrust in police when it comes to protecting GSM individuals. Quote, they've lost all respect from our community. And that's not just because of her own case, but because, according to Lisa, a lack of a police response when protesters attacked the Hamilton Pride event in 2019, sending shockwaves through the community and prompting police to commit to forging better relationships. The attack at Pride, was atrocious, and nothing's changed. But the good news, of course, is that she, because of her community, because of her fellows in acting and the community members in Hamilton around her, and the friendship of Wolf, she has her smile back. And as a person who only recently got her own smile back for the first time after a very long time, I can assure you that is a very, very good feeling. Our meme of the week is brought to you by the illustrious Bumblebee. And and I'm not going to touch this story with the 10-foot pole. It is not good news. But if you understand what this is in reference to, hilarious. And if you too want to be responsible for sending an overacting hypochondriac who scams her own constituents regularly for the purposes of grifting up some fundraising, join us on Discord. Discord, of course, is where the memes live, and there's stacks of resources from Stephanie's pile of goodies and studies and information to memes like this. And also you can tell us about news stories that we might not have been made aware of yet in our good news sections, our other news sections, and also our bad news sections. Stay abreast of what's happening between broadcasts and join the community. If you also want to support what we're doing here, you can back us on Patreon at patreon.com/TheTransPositions and reap heaps of benefits. And doesn't that sound just lovely? Thank you all so much for joining us today. This has been an unusual one. I'm again recording live. I'm working 5 jobs. It's very hard. But we appreciate all of you coming, sticking with us, and being part of this community, especially as times continue to get tougher. And we're going to keep trying to bring you this good news that is so desperately needed in this difficult era. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.
Well, hello there. Thanks, Ember, for the good news. We love the good news. We damn well need the good news. And Ember was mentioning our Discord, and sometimes some interesting stuff pops up there. You know, it's a great place to interact with us, ask questions. Hopefully, we'll provide some answers every now and again. But last week, friend of the channel, great guy, Jefferson Spatchcock, asked a question. And it got me going down a little bit of history's road. Now, let me read the question first. The question is, I have a general question for all in chat. I'm trying to find the origin or first published use of the term trans ideology. Google searches are providing results that are less than helpful. Who could be surprised at that, given today's atmosphere? I did find a helpful link from the GLAD website, but I'm still curious if anyone knows if goofy terms like transgenderism or trans ideology are attributable to a single person or group. interesting thing to go down a rabbit hole looking for, I guess. But if you're an old bat like myself, you kind of remember some stuff every now and again. And so I with a little memory, the little gray cells working, and a little bit of digging, I have a bit of a response to that question. First, I want to give you two quotations. And I wonder if y'all can tell me how far apart in time they are. I'm going to change the wording of one of those quotations a bit, sort of to obscure the time of origin. First one is this. Bear with me a second. Because I have to scroll down and find my. All right. This quote. The problem of transgenderism would best be served by morally mandating it out of existence. And this quote. Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely. The whole preposterous ideology at every level. Now, how many years do you think there are between those two quotes? You can type it in chat. I'd do a poll, but I can't figure out how to do it on Talk Studio, but I'd do that poll. Well, I'll tell you, 42 years. The first was from a book published in 1979. Author, one Janice Raymond. Title of the book, The Transsexual Empire, The Making of the She-Male. She does not use the term transgenderism. She uses the term that was au courant in 1979, which was transsexualism. So the quote read, the problem of transsexualism would best be served by morally mandating it out of existence. You think Michael Knowles might have read that 1979 book when framing his locutions in 2023? I think he might have done. There's been an awful lot of chit chat around. We've heard a good deal about how it's a craze. It's that transgender people, or people believing that they are transgender, is a modern invention. It's not. I was invented in 1953. Christine Jorgensen became a household name in 1953. In 1933, what were then called inverts, Magnus Hirschfeld came up with transsexuals. That name held sway for quite some time, but the library of his Institute for Sexual Research was among the first places that the brown shirts invaded and took all the books out and burned them in the street. If this were a new phenomenon, you'd have to think that the people who hated transsexuals, transgender people, individuals would have had nothing to talk about in 1933, much less take action against. Or for that matter, in 1979. We've always been here. We'll always be here. No matter how repressive, no matter how denied we are by mainstream society. We'll be here. We'll live. We'll fight. We've always fought. The words I talked about this last week, the words "when we fight, we win" ring hollow when we don't have people fighting with us. So if you sense a little bit of despair from here, from me, from other folks, please know we're not giving up. You can miss us when we're gone, I suppose. But if you stand with us and you fight with us, we might live to fight another day. For the Transpositions, I'm Stephanie Helms.
It was so euphoric, and like you said, to have your chosen name being announced, the support from the whole organization right from the very beginning, asking right away, hey, how do we navigate this, or how do we best support you? Yeah, it's just so surreal, and I feel so blessed and so lucky because while I played, I wasn't able to really enjoy those moments, those really special moments, and those accolades and those awards. I wasn't able to celebrate them fully, and then to have a second chance of that as my authentic self, it was just like, I'm just being so blessed right now. Like, I'm so lucky to have this opportunity.
This week on Transposition Sports, former CFL hard hitter Maven Maurer on stepping out, stepping in, and stepping forward. Hello again, everybody, and happy holidays. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb, and we're going to sit down with Maven Maurer a little bit later in the show. But on the top of the news this week, World Darts Championships underway in London, and Holland's Noah van Leuven is in the field 1 month after being booed at the Grand Slam of Darts. The rowdy crowd at Alexandra Place met her with cheers as she opened the tournament against fellow Dutch competitor Kevin Dietz. First set, clinching leg, van Leuven up 2 sets 1, sitting on 40, 3 shots at double 20. Third time's a charm, van Leuven up 1 set 0. Second set, tied 1 leg each. Both needed 33 darts to finally close the set. Dietz did it with a double 1. On the fourth leg, Dietz was clutch again to tie the match. He would win the third set. Now, fourth set, tied at 2 legs each. Van Leuven surging, massive scoring thrust to get her within 20-70, but Dietz steps up, calm and cool, double 10. That's game. Dietz advances. Van Leuven knocked out of the World Darts Championship. The next step for her, getting her to a card in Q School in January. But after the 2024 she's had and the nonsense that she's dealt with this year, I wouldn't bet against her for 2025. Congrats on a great year, Noah Lynn Van Leuven. We've not heard the last of you. The Washington State Interscholastic Athletic Association will enter 2025 with 2 proposals to change the state governing body's policy towards transgender student athletes. Now, one's proposals would call for participation in girls' sports to be limited to students assigned female at birth. Another proposal states athletic programs would be offered separately for boys, girls, and transgender students. Here's what a state legislator had to say about it.
This is being respectful to trans athletes because it is acknowledging their self-identification in addition to their chromosomal makeup or their natural physique.
Now, who's behind it? Well, one person is Dean Vergilio. He's the head track coach at Cedar Crest High School, and he had some choice things to say about a certain girl named Veronica Garcia after the state championships in 2024. Another person behind all this is Linden Superintendent David Vanderjagt. He's the person that helped draft this original proposal. Now, what do Cedar Crest High School and Linden High School have in common? Well, last year in the state track meet in Class 2A girls competition, Cedar Crest was second in the team standings. They lost by 8 points. Linden was third. They lost by 11. Both are under the idea that they lost to the eventual champion, East Valley High School in Spokane, because of a certain girl named Veronica Garcia. Yeah, that Veronica Garcia. You know, the girl who is trans who won the 400 meters. And they felt that because she won, thus her presence, fully eligible, mind you, according to the rules in concert with Washington State's human rights laws, are the reason why they didn't win the state championship. But looking event for event, that's not necessarily the case. First, East Valley won more events, and they scored where Cedar Crest and Linden weren't, and they limited the losses when they outscored them. If you really want to know what athlete outscored these two teams, oh, by the way, East Valley in 2023 scored 19 points and finished 14th. Now, the major factor wasn't Garcia. It was the 28 points scored in the 800, 1600, and 3200 meter runs by a girl for East Valley named Logan Hofsty. Now, she's a 2-time state cross-country champ, didn't compete at the state track and field meet in 2023. In 2024, again, second at 800, first in the 1600 and the 3200. Now, in the 1600 and the 3200, Cedar Crest had no one in the event and thus lost maximum points. Hofsty is a freshman at Gonzaga now, running cross country and track for the Bulldogs in NCAA Division I. Garcia is a senior at East Valley and plans to run track for the Knights this upcoming season. Now, the WIAA will make a decision on these proposals in April, just as track season is reaching its apex. I would hope that all involved in making this decision will look at the facts, not the hearsay, not the sour grapes, and not make a decision that would be unfair to Veronica Garcia or East Valley. I think Veronica Garcia deserves some fairness too. One thing she doesn't deserve is all the abuse from adults she took, and all the abuse that Aiden Gallagher, a trans teen sprinter in Oregon, took after running well at their state meet. But I fear we're going to see more scenes like the booing at the high school kids received, or insanity like what Canadian powerlifter Audrey Yoon was faced with while entering a competition last summer and being harassed by Canada's Rebel News, an anti-LGBTQ Fox News knockoff up north. Check this out.
Do you support the idea of there being another category that's a little bit more fair on a biological level, one that you don't have to dominate women who just, in some cases, don't have a chance against you? Why do you think people think it's transphobic to want a more fair category? To want something where people can compete, they can train, and it's more fair? Is that a song you like? So, Does it feel like a really good win to get to just dominate? Well, it would be nice if you could speak to kind of, get the message out, the message you stand for when you take medals and cash prizes from other female competitors who are female.
I sat down with Yoon recently, a power lifter who is an up-and-coming strongman competitor who left that discipline fed up with the transphobia, both unofficial and official. She recalls that moment with Rebel News and how she was affected by it.
After the competition, as we were trying to leave toward the bus stop, they were following us, mics in front of our faces, cameras stuck right in front of our faces, pacing around, completely invading our personal space. I didn't want to talk to them. I knew that anything I said would get twisted and misrepresented by them in very unfair ways. And it just didn't matter what we did. They just wanted to follow us everywhere and try to ask inflammatory questions. And we weren't able to leave the venue. We had to go back inside. We had to get the venue organizers who were sympathetic to all of this to protect us from that. And so that would include the BC Powerlifting Association president, who's also been harassed, by the way, because she's allowed me to compete or something. It just, I can't believe they're just coming out in droves and by the thousands, writing articles about her and harassing her. So there's sympathetic people like that, and trying to leave the venue.
Now, am I hearing that right? The president of BC's Powerlifting Association, is getting the beef right along with you.
Yeah. So I guess in order to quote unquote protect women, they've got to harass some women, cis or trans.
We're going to have a sit down with Audrey Yoon as part of our All Carly team coverage next week on Transposition Sports. Now, Wednesday, you had Senate hearings with the NCAA presidents Charlie Baker. It was supposed to be talking about gambling and online prop bets, but certain senators wanted their chance to once again show their transphobia. Brought to you by guess who? The Republicans.
Transphobia for a stronger America.
Why do you support allowing transgender women who are biological males to compete against non-transgender biological females?
Over the course of the past 2 years, 5 federal court cases involving this question. Let me finish. 5 federal judges have all sided with participation as the standard.
Transgender women who are biological males are not going to be allowed to compete against non-transgender women who are biological female. Boom, done. Why don't you take that position, Charlie?
Because federal courts have already taken the position that they do have the right to compete.
Yeah,
5 times in the past year and a half.
You can disagree and be sued. Why don't you demonstrate some leadership?
I would love to work with you folks on creating clarity around this question.
I'm sorry, but look, I'm sure the NCAA is a good organization. I just can't figure out what you folks are good for.
A total of 5 teams, 5 women's volleyball teams: Wyoming, Southern Utah, Utah State, Nevada, and Boise State all had to forfeit 7 games in their conference play, NCAA conference play this past year. Women's teams, because a biological male under your rules was playing on a rival's team. How is that not denying them the benefits of the sport? Why is this fair to women?
And when that issue went to federal court, the judge sided with participation.
No, the NCAA did not go to court.
No,
that is not true.
The federal judge made the decision with respect to the issue you just raised.
Your rules have not been tried in federal court, and your rules explicitly permit biological males in women's sports.
Now, Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, gave Baker a chance to speak on what Kennedy and Howley didn't. Baker revealed something quite interesting. Check this out.
How many athletes are there in the United States in NCAA schools?
510,000.
How many transgender athletes are you aware of?
Less than 10.
Less than 10
Yep.
out of 510,000?
Yep.
Are you governed when it comes to the policy of the NCAA by state law?
Of course.
So if 25 of the 50 states currently say that transgender children can play in sports according to their gender identity, you're bound by that standard?
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to say on this subject?
I think part of our challenge is dealing with a very murky set of court decisions and at the state and federal level around this issue, which creates a certain lack of clarity around our policy, because our policy ultimately needs to comply with federal policy. Which is why guidance either on the regulatory side or on the statutory side would be very helpful.
Before we go to break, some holiday shout-outs. First, congratulations to Aaron Reed and Zoe Zephyr on their nuptials last week in Missoula, Montana. Again, I wish I could have been there, but I've seen the wedding pictures. Aren't they beautiful? Aaron, Zoe, congratulations again. And congratulations to a good friend of the show, erotic filmmaker Chelsea Poe. The AVN Adult Awards came out. They had the nominations and Poe snagged 3 of them. And she finds out she's taking home some hardware next month in Las Vegas. Chelsea, last year was Michigan's year. This year, it's your year. You're going to get one. When we come back, a conversation with former CFL player Maven Maurer on coming out and stepping out. Coming up, but first, the picks where it's at with Kirby the Cat. Hey, Kirby, getting that workout in.
Yeah, got this strength fighting tournament coming up next month. I want to bring home some hardware. I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to be ready to swing it. Oh, see, look at that. Look at that. Give me that. Yeah, I'm going to be all over that string. Gotcha.
Well, Kirby, what about the picks coming up?
Not in the middle of my workout. Okay. I already told you about the college football playoff. I already told you. I'm going to take Tennessee's going to win the Transphobia Bowl over Ohio State. I already gave you that one. Texas is going to beat Clemson. Yeah, I know, Clemson Tigers. Love my Cats. I just don't think they're going to beat the Longhorns. Battle of Indiana. Vatican's going to get that break. It's all going to be about Notre Dame. And Penn State going to beat SMU. You're going to find out how good a coach James Franklin really is. But you know what else I'm picking? Volleyball. Final 4 this week. And it's going to be all Cats. You heard it here first. Pitt over Louisville and Penn State over Nebraska.
Whoa, 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 Kitty. Kitty, are you kidding me? First, the Final Four is at home. It's at Louisville. That home. Louisville. Cardinals are going to get that one.
No, they aren't. So, who cares if it's in Louisville? It's going to be Pitt and Penn State.
And you really think Penn State's going to beat my Huskers?
Huskers, smuskers. Penn State over Nebraska. You heard it here first.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. Oh, by the way, before we go on, who do you think is going to win the championship?
Panthers. They've been number 1 all year, but really, no matter who wins, I don't lose because it's going to be all Cats.
And I disagree with you. Louisville will beat Pitt in 5. Nebraska beats Penn State in 5. Nebraska over Pitt in 5. Huskers hang another one in Lincoln.
Oh, whatever. Now do me a favor. Go get my dinner.
So maybe I'll start a little bit softer.
This little light of mine.
Dad?
Before you say anything, I just want to apologize for what I said this morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking. If you want to change your name, if you want to wear a dress.
It's a skirt, Dad.
Skirt? I don't know the kind of support you need, but let's get you some for all this transgender stuff.
Wait. Are you serious? Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is me supporting you. This is me saying I love you. This is me not losing you.
Love you, Dad.
Love you. Holly.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Finally tonight, Maven Maurer. 12 years in the Canadian Football League as a Saskatchewan Rough Rider, a British Columbia Lion, an Ottawa Renegade, and an Edmonton Eskimo. She was a part of 2 Grey Cup winners, both unlikely wins against a powerful Montreal Alouettes team. Top 10 all-time in special teams tackles, many of those tracking down the speedy pinballs and gizmos the CFL is known for. But through it all, she was never quite happy. And after a career, she started unpacking why. In 2020, she faced her truth. And from there, began her transition. She recently went public with her story after a team reunion in September with her mates from the BC Lions. Their improbable 2000 Grey Cup champion team is being placed on the Wall of Fame. She was at BC Place, and it turned out her coming back was also a coming out for many she was closest to.
Lions fans, it's time now to officially welcome our 2024 Wall of Fame inductees. The story of the 2000 Grey Cup champion BC Lions is a story about overcoming adversity, a lot of teamwork, and a roster of players whose names already adorn the walls of local and national Hall of Fames. It's the story of a team that began the season with a 2-4 start before changing their head coach, and a story about a team that rallied late in the season. A team led by one of the last great QB play callers and a double-headed monster in the backfield. A team looking to write one final chapter for a hometown boy on his last ride after 25 seasons as a Lion. And so, like all great championship teams, the story begins and ends with the people. And tonight, as we honor the legacy of this great team, we want to focus on the people, the players, coaches, and staff that will collectively take their rightful place on the BC Lions Wall of Fame, and in doing so, have their chapter of our shared legacy live forever. Come on, Lions fans, let me hear you roar for your 2000 Grey Cup champion, BC Lions!
And joining us now is the woman who did it all, Maven Maurer. First, welcome to Transposition Sports, and more so, Trans Woman, the Trans Woman. Welcome home.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. And to start, what's this last few weeks been like? Ever since you went public and started telling your story, what's these last few weeks been like for you?
Yeah, like you said, it's been pretty wild. At times, a little bit overwhelming. I kind of I've been living full time as a woman the last almost 2 years, just under 2 years, about 22 months now, relatively quietly, like in my own little bubble, doing my own little thing, and just never have really been super public until the last couple of weeks here. Last couple of months ago was the Lions Wall of Fame induction for our 2000 team, and yeah, that was the first time really being uber public, with my new presentation.
Well, I want to talk about that. What made you decide to jump on that plane to Vancouver and be there?
Well, one, I wanted to see my old teammates. I haven't seen a lot of these guys in over 20 years. And, you know, like you play football, so you know, like your teammates are like your family. Like those guys are like my brothers. And it was like a little reunion, so to speak, a little family reunion. And, you know, the only thing that would have stopped me was fear, a fear of any kind of negative outcome or any kind of, you know, story that you play in your mind. And I did not want to let fear rule me.
That is something you said a lot. Talk a little bit more about that fear. What was your greatest fear heading there, or even before there? Because what was your greatest fear?
Well, my traumas come from a child being bullied and being ostracized, being ridiculed, and being an outsider. So being excluded. So I had played football for a long time. I think in part because I had that inclusion with those guys. That was an instant. You had an instant team. I mean, I can even think back to high school. Like I didn't know any of those guys. I didn't hang out with them in high school. But the day I made the team, all of a sudden I have this, like, I'm on the inside circle. So for me, it's like whether or not they're going to accept me, whether or not the fans are going to accept me, whether or not this is going to be a huge deal. And I think it's just enough of a big deal that I can handle it. I can manage it. But yeah, I really didn't know what to expect. So I guess it is that fear of the unknown.
Why be this public now? Why do this? Because you had said it yourself, you were private. Why, Maven, why step out now?
Because I see other trans people don't get to live the way I get to live. I feel like I'm a little bit privileged in the sense that, like, I don't have to worry about my safety when I leave the door because of who I am or who I was or even what I look like. I still look like I can take care of myself. And so my experience is vastly different from others. You know, and a lot of people live in fear, and that's not right. And if I can do something to change that, I would like to do that. Nobody should have to live in fear, as well as in Saskatchewan and Alberta. And I think one of the eastern provinces like New Brunswick, they want to not talk about gender diversity in school. So basically they want to shove everybody that's, you know, questioning or gender diverse, put them in the box, put them in the closet. Like, we're not going to talk about it. And like, if they have preferred pronouns or preferred names, they don't have to use them. It's actually illegal to use them unless they get permission from the parents. So all of the rights have really been taken away from the trans youth. So, and I disagree with that, and I want to stand up and you know, make my voice known that, you know, when is open, kind communication ever a bad thing? Like, it's not. So let's keep the dialogue going and let's talk about this. Not, the answer is not to, like, not talk about it. That's, you know, it's not right.
Among the people you played with and played against, who's reached out to you? Who's reached out to you now?
I've actually had quite a great number of former teammates reach out. Like I said, before this BC thing, this last year, you know, yeah, I had emailed alumni or little, like, alumni rooms and groups and said, hey, just so everyone knows, I'm changing my email. It's not going to reflect my old name. It's going to reflect my new name. And she, her, please. And yeah, like, everyone was just like, holy cow, okay, wow. Like, everyone's, you know, the vast majority of people, of my teammates have been supportive.
You see, Maven, at TransPositions Sports, we have a rule. We have guests like you. You see, yes, we talk about transness here. We talk about all these different issues here, but you have to understand that as much as I'm trans and proud, I'm also a sports journalist and a sportscaster, and you've got to understand that at Transposition Sports we show highlights, and guess what? We show yours too.
Oh my goodness.
We show yours. Remember you with the Regina Rams?
I had a great time with them. They used to make fun of me all the time because I used to look for contact, and I used to be hitting people when I didn't need to be hit.
And now let's fast
Oh,
forward.
I'm loving seeing that.
2005 Grey Cup, making all those key catches, outstanding Canadian, playing with a younger Ricky Ray, still kind of balding even back then. And can we talk about here during that season against your Bombers, no less, making a key catch and another one. Look at you opening the hole.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, they called me back. I think that was the first game back. They called me back.
And also, hey, you get touched. Yeah, you have a few touches. You have a few tutties. And of course, one of my favorite, when you were at Ottawa, people forget you were a Red Black. Nice little pass there. Oh,
wow. Yeah.
Can you be any more?
I have not seen that.
Can you be any more open? Just a reminder to all the people out there watching, Maven Maurer can play some football. I noticed your eyes still lit up when you were looking at those. Your eyes still lit up.
There's that, and that's the thing, like with trans athletes, and also I want to be able to stand up for on the side of inclusion. Find solutions, let's find ways so that everybody can play. Because that feeling of competition, that feeling of the inclusion of sports, of teams, does not go away just because you're transitioning. Like that passion or that competitiveness does not go away, and that joy to do those things. So yeah, like I wanna champion inclusion, and let's find solutions here instead of roadblocks.
You walk into BC Place that day, old teammates there, fans there, and they introduce you. What was it like to get those cheers?
Oh, it was so euphoric, and like you said, to have your chosen name being announced, the support from the whole organization right from the very beginning, asking right away, hey, how do we navigate this, or how do we best support you? It's just so surreal, and I feel so blessed and so lucky because while I played, I wasn't able to really enjoy those moments, those really special moments, and those accolades and those awards. I wasn't able to celebrate them fully. And then to have a second chance of that as my authentic self, it was just like, I'm just being so blessed right now. Like I'm so lucky to have this opportunity.
What you just saw was a part of a 1-hour conversation I had with Maven Maurer. And we're going to run that conversation in its entirety on the Shar Sports 1 YouTube site on Christmas Eve, as part of our special Shar Sports 1 year-end coverage, the best of Shar Sports 1 and Transposition Sports for the year on December 24th. You won't want to miss this special interview with a very special person. Maven Maurer, thanks again for the interview and the time. And once again, sister, welcome home. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Carly Chardonnay Webb. Happy holidays, everybody.
Bree, you're muted.
Muted. Oh, there we go.
You're muted.
I'm unmuted now. Yay, we are back. That was a great interview, Carly. Oh my gosh.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. Fantastic.
Can you
No,
recap?
and that was only a little bit of it. I mean, we went an hour, and on Christmas Eve we're going to run that, and
So great.
And there's so much that we touched on. Obviously we touched on the things that you saw there, but we also touched on the backstory. And I also wrote an article for outsports.com that ran tonight on my interview with a little bit of an interview and the backstory, but be around Christmas Eve, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want a heartwarming, feel-good story for your Christmas Eve, her backstory, the thing about Maven Maurer that really struck me is how much her story and my story ran so parallel. We're both kids from the prairies. She was born in Manitoba, grew up in Saskatchewan. I grew up in Nebraska. I mean, if you switched Regina, Saskatchewan, and Omaha, Nebraska, nobody would know the difference. I mean, they're pretty much the same city in a lot of ways. And we both grew up, as kids who kind of got bullied and got picked a little bit, and sports was our refuge. And what she talks a lot about the armor you have to put on to survive. And I really felt that. There were points during the interview where I was tearing up because so much of her memories, I understand those because those are my memories. So, like I said, Christmas Eve, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to run the full interview. And it was one of the beautiful interviews, what's been creatively my best year of my career, I believe. And I owe Bree, Ember, and Stephanie a lot of thanks for that, because you asked me to be a part of this and you asked me to come on it. And I was so happy to be a part of it. And I look forward to being a part of it and doing even more of this type of work in 2025, even in difficult times. And I want to thank all of you who've been seeing us week to week. We've been growing an audience, and those of you who are kicking into the Patreon. Please kick into the Patreon, because your Patreon contributions will help us do more. Yeah. For example, some of that Patreon money will help me get on the road more and get stories. I'd like to do that, and it'll help us get more resources to get even better stories. And even in these times, just know that we can come together and we can do this, and we still have a lot to fight for. Even if our allies are weary, we can't be. We're God, but then again, we're all we need. And again, I want to send a shout out to that beautiful piece of trans joy we saw this weekend in Montana. See, even in the face of the ugliness and the nastiness, there's still love and there's still joy. And Zoe, Aaron, thank you for not only congratulations first, but also thank you for what you both do for our community, but also the example that you gave so many of us this weekend, that even in the depths of difficulty, our heads may be bloodied, but they're not out. We can still feel joy. We can still show love.
Wow. I can't think of a better note to wrap the show up on, honestly. Thank you so much. Go watch that interview. Hopefully it'll move you a little bit. Hopefully if you don't know any trans people or any trans people that are in your personal life, this might be an opportunity to get to know what a trans person's life and experience is like. So please go check that out on Christmas Eve, right?
That is right. We're going to do it Christmas Eve, 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be a part of a day all throughout Christmas Eve. I'm going to be running some of the best things we've done this year. I'm going to be rerunning, like, the Sadie Shrine review is going to be reran. We're going to run the we're going to run the CC Telfer interview, and I'm gonna put some never before stuff out there too. Some
Talk
interviews
about
that haven't been run in a while. I'm gonna put some stuff out there that hasn't been seen in a little bit.
Yeah.
And in addition to like
Great.
building some new things. So
Talking
there's a
about
lot to
trans
be
joy,
seen.
though.
And again, it wouldn't be possible without TransPositions sports.
But I was just gonna say that trans joy, and kind of related to the situation with Zoe and Aaron, is Sadie Schreiner and her girlfriend on Instagram and on other social media too are freaking adorable. You want something heartwarming to watch?
Oh, you're talking about Sadie and her partner. Sadie.
Yeah, and her partner. There's a picture where they
Sadie
were.
and her
She
partner.
had her up on a little.
They're the best. And they're just so cute.
They're adorable. Where she was picking her up and stuff. Yeah, it was so cute. Anyway, yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to touch on before we wrap up, Steph?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that over the holidays, I don't know if a shout out to Purple Rhymes with Orange. If you aren't familiar with her work, she has a YouTube channel, Purple Rhymes with Orange. And I think this is the 8th year that she has organized a Christmas marathon that runs from the first moment of December 25th, anywhere in the world, to the last moment of December 5th, anywhere in the world. And various YouTube creators are involved with that, each taking a particular time slot. For myself, I'll be here bright and early Christmas morning, my time anyway, between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. my time. And Bree, you have a slot too, I think, later that day.
I am doing Central Time. Are we? What time?
Yeah, I was transforming time into my time, so it's 5 to I think it's 5 to 6 Central Time.
Bright and early.
Yeah, wicked bright and early, or late, depending, you know.
I have 10 to noon Central Time, which is going to be 11 to 1 for me here, but
yeah,
it'll be 9 to 11 for you guys on the East Coast. And I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it'll be fun. It'll probably be a little like Live from the Hive kind of stuff. I thought about doing it as the TransPositions. I considered it, but I think that keeping the TransPositions news focused and whatnot is probably important. So if you want to, though, I mean, we all have our own channels listed down below in the description. And also, do you want to talk about the 26th, Steph? What we're talking about doing? So next week's TransPositions with the call-in thing.
Yeah,
we're gonna try to get it set up.
We're going to try to get a call-in segment set up for a little bit of telephone interactions. Somebody who knows how to screen calls would be helpful. Besides me,
It would be after the sports segment, and we'll go until we don't have any more calls anymore, probably. So if you want to, we'll see how it goes. I'd like to start doing that regularly at the end of the TransPositions weekly, doing some calls where you can call you with the specifically with the subjects of the show in mind for that week. But this first one it's gonna be more holiday oriented. You want to call and tell us about your holiday experiences?
There you go.
Was your family cool when you were there? Were they shitty? Let us know. We'd love to dig into that and talk about interfamilial dynamics. But moving forward, I would also like to. We haven't sorted out a day or anything, but just have a standalone show where we just take calls, and it would be any two of us from the panel or perhaps some of our correspondents that would want to participate. But yeah, look forward to that coming up in the new year.
I'd get in that.
Yeah, I know you would. Carly's been itching to be on a call-in show again for a while. I haven't been on a call-in show in forever. Last one I was on was with you, Steph, back when we were on
Skeptic Haven, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mhm.
think so. Yeah.
Skeptic
That was a while
Haven.
ago.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been over a year ago. But yeah.
Oh,
All
I
right,
love.
well,
I some y'all probably know I do a lot of call screening for the line shows, and I've also been on TACUS a few times, and I like the format. It can be somewhat trying from time to time, but I think it's good to have that kind of interaction. Not a steady diet of it. I don't know how some folks do it, but anyway, yeah. So we'll try it and we'll see how it goes.
I used to do the perspective on Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheist for about a year. Then Ethan took a break from that, but I miss doing call-in shows. That was weird calls, though. We would take like ghost calls and Bigfoot calls. One time I had a Mothman call. It was so cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It wasn't Mothman on the phone, though, unfortunately. Mothman. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up, friends. All
Tie a
right.
bow around it. Let's go.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Transpositions Weekly. And yeah, we'll be back next week, right after Christmas, with an option for you to reach out.
Our boxing, it'll be our Boxing Day show.
Boxing Day. All right. Night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.